Good morning, family. Good morning. Good morning. Pastor Anthony of the Well Family Worship. So good to see you all this morning. Good morning. It's time to get up. It's time for that morning devotion. Wipe your eyes. Wipe the sleep out your eyes. Come on, wash your face. It's time to get up. I know it's a little after 9 o'clock. Some of us get that sleep in spirit on us. Come on, shake it off. It's time to get in here and get this word. Come on, get this word on this morning. Pastor Anthony Adams of the Well Family Worship. Family where we're focused on one person, one family, one community at a time. Come on, I'm looking for you. Come on, let's ride. Come on. Time to get up, get this word. Hope you all enjoyed your Juneteenth. That nice long weekend everybody was afforded. I don't want us to forget why we had that weekend though. It's just good to have barbecues and cookouts and tailgates and different things like that. But don't forget the reason for the season. We say that all the time. Don't forget that. It is imperative that we remember why it is the fabric, part of the fabric of the American system. Juneteenth. Family, come on in here. Come on. We thank God for those of you all that are willing to be with us on our morning devotions. Come on, like, share, subscribe. Get out there, www.thewellfamilyworship.com. Pastor Anthony, Lady A. Shaking up things, man. We believe in relationship over bad religion. Relationship over bad religion. We believe in that. We believe in that wholeheartedly. Family, where are you this morning? I see you coming in. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know who's online. Got the comments wide open. Come on, talk to me. Before we jump into this word, I won't be before you long. Boy got his eyes dilated, so even if you are responding, I may not be able to see, but I got my wife. My wife's on here. She's able to see your prayer requests. Please place your prayer request in here. Family, I thank you so much for your donations. Eric Hughes, good morning, my brother. Thank you for your donations. We were able to plant a seed with a young man starting a business. We were able to plant a seed. We were able to go to the nursing home and see some folk and do some things. So family, whatever you contribute, know that it's going right back out into the community. We thank God for you. We thank God for you. Sister Norma Stanley, we're praying for you. Got the chance to speak with her and pray with her. She and her roommate last week. So we thank God for that. Still praying for Brother Stalwart. Yeah, praying for his strength and that the will of the Lord will be done in his life. Family, there's so much going on. We can call you all by name. But if you have a prayer request, we ask that you add it this morning. We're going to be in devotion, short devotion this morning. But we want to make sure that we give you something that will encourage you for the rest of the week, to push you the rest of the week. Listen. You are not by yourself in this journey of life. You are not by yourself. You're not by yourself. People are praying for you. People are watching you. People are lifting you up. People are interceding on your behalf. Come on. What's your prayer request on this morning? We thank God for our brother Wooten, Kelvin Wooten, man. Grammy Award-winning Kelvin Wooten. Man, I thank God for that brother. The music that you hear playing, the undertone. That's him. That's what he does. And so again, family, we thank God for you this morning. Let's go ahead and get into this word. Let's get this thing. Let's get it going. Short word again this morning, but a powerful word. Short but powerful word. We want to talk to you this morning on the subject of protecting your praise. Protecting your praise. We must protect our praise. We must protect our praise. We're coming from the book of Joshua. Again, my eyes are dilated, so y'all forgive me. But we're going to get this word. The book of Joshua. Joshua took over as the leader of the children of Israel to go into the promised land that was promised to Moses and all the other generations. So now here Joshua is, and they are on the brink of what God has called them to. You all have heard the story about the walls of Jericho falling. It says, you shall, and I'm looking at Joshua 5, chapter 1. I'm reading from the English Standard Version, as much as I can see on this morning. You shall march around the city, all the men of war, going around the city once. This shall you do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow the trumpet. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. So Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horn, of the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, go forward, march around the city, and let the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord. And just as Joshua had commanded the people, the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of the ram's horns before the Lord went forward, blowing the trumpets, with the ark of the covenant of the Lord following them. The armed men were walking before the priests who were blowing the trumpets, and the rear guard was walking around the ark while the trumpets blew continually. But Joshua commanded the people, you shall not shout or make your voice heard, neither shall any word go out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout. So he caused the ark of the Lord to circle around the city, going around it once every day. Once, family, every day. And they came into camp, and they spent the night in the camp. Then Joshua, verse 12, rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets and 7 ram's horns before the ark of the Lord walked on, and they blew the trumpets continually. And the armed men were walking before them, and the rear guard were walking after the ark of the Lord, while the trumpet blew continually. And the 2nd day they marched around the city once and returned into the camp. So they did this for 6 days. And on the 7th day, family, they rose early at the dawn of day and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. You got to think at this point, the people are thinking that they're crazy. You're marching around the city 7 times. 7 times around the city. The 6 days you've done this. We watched you do this. We watched you do this for 6 days, blowing those horns and looking crazy. There's no way these mighty walls of Jericho will fall around you. Family, let me ask you this question as we begin today, and we're just looking at the scripture. It's amazing that the Ark of the Covenant was where the essence of the Lord was. Come on, not only was God speaking to them from the heavens, but the Spirit of the Lord was also in the ark that he commanded them to build. But it's amazing to me that as in earlier chapters, Joshua is being spoken to, and the Lord is telling him how to set things up. That's a great place to even start this morning, family. If God is in the midst of where you are, he's giving you the plan of how to set things up. And we begin to set things up the way that God called them to, we can only think that we're going to be victorious. Because he is the God of love, and he's the God of peace, and he's the God of this, and he's the God of that, but he's also the God of war. Come on, there's no strategic plan that can go forth in your life that God hasn't already thought out every angle. He is that mighty God of war. So he calls forth, I love this, he calls forth the men of arms. He calls forth the soldiers, and he places the soldiers in the front. I love it. I love it. He places the soldiers in the front, and he places the soldiers in the rear. They're guards in the front, they're guards in the rear, so that the Ark of Covenant, the essence of God that is moving with his people in the camp, is protected on every side. Family, I just wanted to stop by early this morning, late for some of y'all, early this morning, to tell you that we must protect our praise. We must protect it. It's amazing that we will open up our mouth and we'll say any and everything. Sometimes the gifts and the dreams and the visions that God has given us, we will share with everybody. But on this morning, just that representation of them marching around what God had already promised them. Jericho wasn't the promise. The land of Canaan was the promise. Jericho was just standing in their way. And what God allowed to happen was, my essence will be with you. He told Joshua early on in the ministry, he said, Joshua, be bold and courageous. For as I was with Moses, I'm also with you. Some of us need to take that into account. Be bold and courageous. Know that the Lord is with you. And as they began to walk around, he said, now take your armed men, your strong men, take them and place them as a protector. It's amazing to me because God didn't need protecting from anybody. So what God does is he places us in a position to where we can be used by him so that we feel like we are a part of what's going on. God could do it all by himself, but in the midst of where we are, God is saying, give me what you have and I'm going to use that. Family, come on, we must protect our praise on this morning because our praise is the very thing that releases us from the shackles of our own thinking. Our praise is the only thing that God inhabits. He's with us. So if you can't envision for me, the walls are high and the walls are mighty and the men of Jericho are standing on these walls. Look at these crazy people walking around blowing horns. But in the spirit realm, I can hear the horns of Zion blowing when it's time for me to go into battle. There's some things that you're facing in life right now that are causing you to sound the alarm. Can you hear it going off? But what God did was he places these strong men in the front, the strong men in the rear, and then he also places the priests with 7 ram horns, and they're blowing these things constantly. One time around the city, he's blowing it. Have you been in a situation or in a season in your life where we've been talking about hurricanes and storm seasons? Have you been in a season in your life where you keep hearing the same sounds, but you keep falling on the same results? Come on, but let me let you know on this morning. Let me let you know. That's old school. Let me let you know that there is a sound in heaven being blown for you. My God, there is a sound in heaven that is resounding for you already on this morning. He's working on your behalf. The first time around the city, you don't see any change, but you're listening and you're obedient to God. Come on, you've been fasting, you've been praying, you've been calling out to him, and you don't see it. Year number 2, you walked around and it's the same thing. You hear a horn or a sound. God, I know you're in the midst. I got your presence with me because you said you inhabit the praises of your people. God, I'm praising you. I'm in this season, but I can't see you move. I don't see you working. But God, you're giving me a promise, so I'm going to keep on going. Family, let me let you know something. When the devil is able to take the praise out of your lips because you can't see with your natural eye what God is doing, he understands that it's a strategic move to take the praise out of the lips of the people, because if we stop praising God, knowing that we're right on the brink of God bringing us over, then he's won. But God, in your spiritual life, has placed people in your vicinity that are willing to protect the gift that God is giving you. Come on, it hadn't been seasoned. You've been singing in the choir for so long. You've been doing all the best that you can do. You've been working as hard as you can, but you've been walking and you can't see God move. God is just saying, keep going. Keep a praise on your lips. Keep a praise on your heart. You know, for me, it was something, because when I came into the Adventist church, I didn't understand why we had a book of hymns. I didn't understand the book of hymns. And it's not just the Adventist church. The Catholic Church has a book of hymns. Come on. And I didn't understand why we had a book, because when I was growing up, the hymns that were sung in the church were always sung by the older mothers, and they were passing them from one generation to the next. So even if they didn't say, I want you to learn this hymn, you heard it sung so much until it became a part of who you were. Come on, y'all know what I'm talking about. Like the hymn, I know it was the blood. I know it was the blood. I know it was the blood for me. One day when I was lost, Jesus died on the cross. I know it was the blood for me. So even though they're marching around the city and the trumpets are sounding around Jericho, in my spirit, I can hear that song being sung. I know it was the blood for me. Come on. He never said a word. He never said a word. He never said a word for me. Come on, some of y'all know what I'm talking. My soul looks back and wonder how I made it over. These old songs are being passed on because what they're doing is they're giving us a piece of the past to say we've been there and we know what it took to bring us out. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, from the bottom of my heart to the depths of my soul. Yes, I didn't lose my praise in the midst of my storm. Come on, I'm helping somebody on this morning. If I ain't helping nobody, I'm helping myself. I know it was the blood. Come on, come on. As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire. Come on, these songs encourages us in seasons where we can't see our way through, but God has already promised us something on the other side. Come on, so day 4, year 4, we're walking around and we still didn't let the praise, come on, be taken from us, because God says when he inhabits the praise, inhabit means that he lives, he dwells. Come on, he has his means, he has his being. God said, as I move and you move, just like that, I'm going to keep moving with you as long as you allow that praise to be locked in. They walked around, same thing, for 6 days. Y'all need to get some people that don't mind marching with you. Get some people that don't mind being in prayer with you. Get some people who don't mind you all collectively interceding for each other. And as you're marching and as you're going through this life, you're able to call the strength of one another. They did it collectively. The old men had their portion of the job. The men, the priests that were carrying the Ark of the Covenant had their job. The priests that had the ram's horns had their job. The rear guards had their jobs. They were watching their back. Somebody was watching the front. Somebody was watching the sides. And the horn was the only thing that was blowing. And I can just imagine the naysayers on the wall looking at us as if we were crazy, but we were walking based upon the fact that God had made a promise in our life. And if God made the promise in our life, we weren't going to turn away from it, because he spoke it into existence. We were going to stay on the path. Family, somebody needs to get back on mission, get back on task. Somebody needs to keep walking and not look back, not to look to your side, because God has armed you with everything that you need. He's kept you. He's got a hedge of protection about you. Come on, but you don't have to look around you to see what you don't have to look up and listen to what they're saying. I'm sure that they heard. And I'm sure that even along the path, some of the warriors were getting tired of doing the same thing. When they were men of war, all they could think about was going in and taking the city. But the thing about it is that when God has said it, we don't have to move until he said so. So on the 7th day, come on, they also went back to the camp. And I could just imagine their mindsets on the 6th day. We've been walking around this camp 6 times. We've been praying for our kids. Come on, we've been praying for our marriages. It seems like nothing is seeming to change. God, I know you to be God in my life. I just need to see you move. I just need to see you work. And God says that on the 7th day, walk around the camp, walk around the promise. Some of you all are looking at a building right now to launch your business. It's a faith walk. But you hadn't been out there and prayed over the land. You hadn't been out there and prayed over the building. You haven't been getting to walk. You got to walk sometimes before it ever falls. You got to march even though you can't see it coming to pass, because God said it. You got to prepare. You got to go to school. And while you're in school, God is preparing your tomorrow. On the 7th day, they marched around 7 times, blowing these same trumpets. And they already had been talked about. They already had been mocked. They had already been scorned. But on the 7th time around the city, God released a praise in his people that caused the wall of the biggest situation that they were facing to fall. God, on the 7th day, allowed a shout from his people that released them from years of bondage. On the 7th day, God allowed his people to be released from generations of hurt, generations of scorn. On the 7th day, God allowed them to go past the point of mourning the generation before them that did not make it into the promise because of murmuring and complaining. On the seventh time when the trumpets were blown, heaven began to open up and shine down on Jericho. On the seventh day when they marched around Rahab and her family were tucked safe inside of her house on the wall because of the promise of God. Family, I don't know where you are, but God is blowing a heavenly trumpet on this morning. He's blowing it on your behalf. You've been silent long enough, and God wants to release a praise inside of you that said, God, if God be for me, who be against me? God, I've been in this way far too long, and God, it is season for my praise. God, is season to be released. God, is season for me to see greater. God, is season for me to walk into my destiny. God, it is season for me to hold on to the promises and now take them in as my own. Family, I don't know where you are on this morning, but God is releasing a sound in your life. You've been waiting and praying far too long. You've lost a lot in this season. You lost loved ones. Folk have burned off. And people that used to be with you aren't with you anymore. The children of Israel lost some loved ones, some folk that they loved. They loved Moses, but they lost him in the wilderness. You're being brought into a new day filled with new grace and new mercy. But you must protect your praise. You got to give God what's due to him. And when you do that, family, God will lift up you in the midst of your trials, in the midst of your tribulations. Family, I only know it because I'm walking it myself. You hear it. You hear the voices. You see the looks. But God has made a promise. And for him we live, and for Christ we die. It's Pastor Anthony Adams with your morning devotion, family. We love you guys. Remember, protect your praise. But when it's time to release it, shout like never before.